The stairs told me first. Not dramatically, not a fall, just the moment I noticed my hand going to the railing before my brain decided to reach for it. The hand knew before I did. And then I started paying attention to other things, getting up from a chair without using the armrests, walking across a parking lot, whether my legs felt solid underneath me or whether they felt like something I was managing rather than something that belonged to me. I am 83. I have been diabetic for 22 years, and for a stretch of time that I am not proud of, I accepted that weakness as the price of getting here. The legs go, that's what people say. The legs always go first. I do not accept that anymore, and the way I walk today is the reason. I want to be precise about this because the word walk is doing a lot of work in what I'm about to tell you, and I do not want you to hear it as generic advice. I am not talking about getting your steps in. I am not talking about 10,000 steps or a morning stroll or what your fitness tracker tells you to do. I am talking about a specific mechanical change to how your foot contacts the ground, how your calf muscle fires, and what happens inside your muscle tissue and your bloodstream as a result of that firing. The change costs nothing. It requires no equipment. You can begin it on your next walk, even if that walk is from your bedroom to your kitchen. But first, I need to tell you what is actually happening inside aging legs. Because weak legs is not a diagnosis. It is a downstream consequence of a process that has a name, a mechanism, and a set of inputs you can influence. And the moment I understood the process, I stopped feeling like I was losing a fight I hadn't chosen and started feeling like I understood the game. Here's the process. After the age of 60, the body begins to lose muscle mass at an accelerating rate. A European consensus document published in Age and Aging by Cruz-Jentoft and colleagues, representing the work of dozens of researchers across geriatric medicine, established that without active intervention, adults over 70 can lose between 1 and 3% of their muscle mass every single year. Not decade, year. That loss is not distributed evenly across the body. It hits the lower body hardest and earliest. The quadriceps, the calves, the muscles that push you up from a chair and hold you steady on a staircase. These are the muscles that go quiet first when the body starts economizing. And they go quiet for a specific reason that most people are never told. The muscle fiber type that disappears fastest in aging is type 2, the fast twitch fibers. The fibers responsible for power, for quick stabilization, for the explosive contraction that catches you when you start to slip. They don't just weaken, they get replaced by connective tissue and fat. And the remaining muscle, the type 1 slow twitch fibers, become harder to activate because the neural pathways that recruit muscle during movement become less efficient with age. Research published in the Journal of Physiology by Burd and colleagues on what scientists call anabolic resistance confirms that older muscle does not respond to the same mild stimuli that kept younger muscle strong. The signal that says build and maintain becomes quieter. The threshold for that signal goes up. You need more intentional mechanical loading, not necessarily heavier loads, but more deliberate, more complete muscle engagement to produce the same maintenance response that walking casually produced in your 40s. That is the first mechanism. And it explains something I had never understood about why I kept getting weaker even though I was still walking every day. I was walking, but I was not loading. And there is a second mechanism working against you if you have diabetes or elevated blood sugar. Because elevated glucose does not just affect your kidneys and your eyes. Research by Dr. Michael Brownlee, published in Nature, established the pathway by which chronically elevated blood sugar produces advanced glycation end products, AGEs, that accumulate in muscle tissue and in the small vessels that feed it, reducing the oxygen and nutrient delivery to the very fibers you are trying to keep alive. The legs are not getting weaker because the body gave up. They are getting weaker because two processes, loss of mechanical loading and glucose-driven damage to muscle tissue and vasculature, are compounding each other while most people are doing nothing that addresses either one directly. And here is what my doctor was never able to explain to me. Why the weakness continued even after my blood sugar was better controlled. Better was not enough. Because the mechanical loading problem was still there. I was still walking the way older people walk without realizing it. And if you've ever watched an older person walk and noticed something slightly shuffling about it, something where the heel barely lifts, or the toes push off weakly, where the whole stride looks like a controlled fall forward rather than an active propulsion, you have seen this problem. If your feet burn at night, or go numb, or feel cold no matter how many socks you wear, please don't ignore it. I almost did, and I'm 80 years old. For years I told myself it was just age, the tingling, the heaviness in my legs climbing the stairs. But it wasn't age. It was my blood sugar quietly damaging the nerves and the circulation in my legs, and almost nobody warned me in time. If you let it keep going, those little signals turn into something you can't undo. I wasn't willing to lose my feet or my independence. So I started doing one thing every single day to help support healthy blood sugar and protect my legs. I'll show you exactly what in this video. And if you want the simple support I personally use, there's a free presentation linked in the description below. Research published in the Journal of Gerontology by DeVita and Hortabaji documented something specific and striking about how gait changes with age. Older adults significantly reduce what biomechanists call plantar flexion push-off. That is the moment at the end of each step where your calf muscle, the gastrocnemius and soleus, contracts powerfully to push your foot off the ground and propel you forward. In younger adults, this is an active, muscular event. It is what gives walking its forward momentum. In older adults, that push-off weakens. The calf muscle stops firing with the same intensity. What fills the gap? The hip flexors. The front of the body starts doing work that the back of the lower leg used to do. And the calf, gastrocnemius soleus, the largest, most powerful muscles in your lower leg, the ones most responsible for leg strength and balance and venous blood return, start getting less and less of the signal they need to stay strong. This is the thing my doctor could not explain, not because he was wrong, but because no one had 14 minutes in an appointment to walk through the biomechanics of why my legs were weakening while I was still moving every day. The way I walk now fixes this directly. Every step I take, I am conscious of two things: the heel strike at the beginning and the push-off at the end. When my heel contacts the ground, I let it land fully, not a shuffle, a real heel placement, deliberate, stable, the way you walk when you know the ground is there and you mean to be on it. That heel contact sends a signal up through the kinetic chain, waking up the stabilizing muscles from the ankle through the knee to the hip. Then, as my weight transfers forward across the foot, I do something that most older adults have stopped doing without realizing it. At the moment my toes are about to leave the ground, I contract my calf actively. A genuine push, not a roll, a push. The gastrocnemius fires, the soleus fires, the foot leaves the ground with intention. And that moment, that active push-off, is where the work happens. It does not require walking faster, my pace is the same. It does not require longer distances. Half a block walked this way does more for my leg strength than 4 blocks walked passively. What it requires is attention, every step. At first, the calf fatigues. That is the point. The muscle is receiving a stimulus it had not been receiving. After 2 weeks of this, the fatigue shortened. After a month, the push-off started to feel natural again. After 3 months, my doctor commented, without prompting, that my balance assessment had improved. He could not explain it. I could. Now here is the part that connects directly to your blood sugar, because for those of us managing diabetes, this is not just about leg strength. This is about glucose. Inside your muscle cells, there is a transporter called GLUT4. Research by Richter and Hargreaves, published in Physiological Reviews, established that when muscle fibers contract, they activate GLUT4 independently of insulin. The glucose transporter moves to the cell surface. It pulls glucose directly out of the bloodstream. No pancreas required, no insulin signaling. The contraction itself is the key. Every active push-off I take, every deliberate calf contraction across the length of my walk, is activating GLUT4 in the largest muscle group in my lower body. The glucose that would otherwise be sitting in my bloodstream damaging my vessels is being used, pulled into the muscle, burned as fuel. The small vessels in my legs and feet are receiving better blood flow because the venous pump my calf provides is running again, and the high glucose that was compounding the weakness is being cleared by the same movement that is rebuilding the muscle. One action, two mechanisms. That is why this works faster than I expected. I want to be clear about something. I still work with my doctor. I still manage my diabetes with the plan we built together. Nothing I do with my walking replaces that. But my doctor's tools and mine are working on different parts of the same problem. His medication addresses the overnight glucose and the fasting number. My walking technique addresses the post-meal glucose and the mechanical loading of the muscle. They do not compete. They compound. A man I know named Gerald, he's 79. He spent 2 years telling himself that the weakness in his legs was just age. Stopped going to his grandchildren's soccer games because the bleachers were too much. Stopped offering to carry anything at family dinners because he wasn't sure he could. I'm not telling you Gerald is a different person now. I'm telling you that when he started walking with attention to the push-off, within 6 weeks he told me he had walked to the end of his street and back without stopping to rest. That was not nothing. That was a direction. And direction is everything when you're 79 or 83 and you're deciding whether the next year looks like this year or like something worse. Now let me give you the full system, because the walk is the engine, but the engine runs better with the right fuel and the right conditions. The fuel is protein, and the timing matters as much as the amount. Research from the Prot-Age Study Group, a consensus panel published in the Journal of the American Medical Directors Association, led by Bauer and colleagues, established that older adults require meaningfully more protein than standard recommendations to counteract anabolic resistance and trigger muscle protein synthesis. Leucine, the amino acid found in highest concentrations in eggs, chicken, and Greek yogurt, is the specific trigger for the muscle-building signal. Eating protein within an hour of your active walk, when the GLUT4 window is open and muscle fibers are primed to receive amino acids, enhances the response. I eat eggs or Greek yogurt within 45 minutes of my morning walk, every morning, not as an afterthought, as the second half of the intervention. The support mineral is magnesium. Research by Barbagallo and Dominguez in Archives of Biochemistry and Biophysics found that a meaningful proportion of people with type 2 diabetes, in the range of 25 to 38%, show low magnesium levels, and that magnesium is required for normal muscle contraction and for insulin receptor function. Low magnesium means the calf contraction I'm training is not firing with full efficiency. I keep a handful of pumpkin seeds in my kitchen, 1 ounce, every evening. It is one of the most magnesium-dense foods available, and it costs almost nothing. And the condition is sleep. Deep, slow-wave sleep is when muscle protein synthesis peaks and when growth hormone supports the repair of the tissue you worked during the day. A cool bedroom, I keep mine at 66 degrees, and a consistent bedtime are not comfort choices. They are recovery infrastructure. The walk is the stimulus. The sleep is when the body answers it. These 4 things, the walking technique, the protein timing, the magnesium, and the sleep, form a system. Any one of them alone is better than nothing. Together, they address the problem from 4 directions simultaneously. If you made it this far, you already understand more about your own legs than most people your age ever will. That matters. You know now that the burning, the numbness, the cold feet, they trace back to one thing: blood sugar slowly working against your nerves and circulation. And you know the goal isn't a miracle. It's protecting your ability to stand, to walk, to stay independent. That's why, alongside everything I showed you today, I use a simple daily support to help keep my blood sugar in a healthy range, so my legs keep carrying me where I want to go. I put the free presentation in the description below. Go watch it. And as always, keep working with your doctor. This supports your routine. It doesn't replace it. I want to leave you with something because I think the stakes here deserve directness. Look at the older adults you know, the ones who move through the world with steadiness, who still climb stairs without watching their feet, who stand up from a table and just stand without a moment where you wonder if they'll make it. And the ones who don't. The ones whose world has contracted to the same 4 rooms, whose families have started talking about what comes next. The difference is not luck. It is not genetics for most of them. It is whether the legs were loaded or allowed to go quiet. Whether someone told them, before the stairs got difficult, that the weakness had a cause and the cause had an address. You have that address now. Start on your next walk. Heel down, deliberate. Push off through the toe, calf fully contracted. Feel the difference in 1 block. Then eat protein when you get home. Put pumpkin seeds in your kitchen. Set a bedtime. The legs are not gone. They are waiting for a signal. If this landed for you today, drop your age and one word about your legs in the comments. Just one word. I read every one. And if you want additional support for your blood sugar alongside this movement work, there is a resource linked below this video, something designed to complement what your doctor is already doing, not to replace it. If you are doing the work and you want more, that link is the next step. The next video I'm covering is something that most people over 70 do every morning before breakfast, that research suggests raises their fasting glucose before they have eaten a single thing. They believe it is the healthiest part of their morning. It is not. That video is next.